Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Wisdom Live brought to you by WOIII, Women of Impact and Innovation International, honoring wisdom while building the next generation of innovative women leaders. Each month, we'll be focusing on one topic, and each week, we'll be diving into different aspects of that topic. My name is Sabrina Protic, and I am the Executive Board Liaison for WOII, and I have the privilege of coming before you today to discuss this month's topic, and it is National Financial Literacy Month and Investments. Financial literacy and investments. And we thought today would be a good time to talk about those investments and some of that financial literacy, meaning let's just understand some things that we do. So today I'm going to be focusing on a couple of things. We're going to talk about IRAs. Everybody's heard of an IRA, but do we really understand all the different aspects of IRAs? Well, there is Roth IRAs, there are traditional IRAs, there are variable IRAs, there are annuity IRAs, and then an IRA really means an individual retirement account. So some people consider 401ks their individual retirement accounts. But what are the difference in these different types of categories, these elements, these products? So let's break them down. Now, as you well know, or you may not know, I'm the author of a book called Hindsight to Insight. And let's see if we can get it in. Hindsight to Insight. And the reason I'm bringing this up, this is kind of a go-to book, Hindsight to Insight, Money Between Family and Friends. There are chapters in here that make it very simple to understand what an IRA is and what is it designed to do. What is your IRA supposed to do for you? Well, as again, it mentions individual retirement account. So that means one person's name is on there. And what is your retirement account? That's your future income account. So it's not something that you live out of today. It's not a revolving checking account or revolving savings account. It's an account with certain tax advantages. So the tax advantages with an IRA is deferred taxes. It means that you do not have to pay taxes on your earnings if it's non-qualified money. And non-qualified simply means the money has already been taxed. So let's say you start an IRA with money from your savings account or money from your checking account. That money's already been taxed somewhere. So you can start an IRA with those non-qualified funds. During the course of your IRA growing, you're earning interest on that money. And you don't have to pay any taxes on your earnings while it's growing. But when you go to take the money out, that's when you earn interest. But the benefits of it growing is you're earning compounding interest. So what does compounding means? It means that you're making money on your money. So let's say you make $50 on your money in your IRA. Well, that $50 earns interest. And then that money earns interest. So you get an opportunity to grow your money, to grow the interest that you're earning, and not have to pay taxes until you touch the money. Now, once you touch your IRA, you can do it in a couple of ways. You can touch it by taking a lump sum out, which that may not be the best, because imagine paying taxes on 10, 15, 20 years worth of earnings. Now, remember, we're talking about non-qualified money right now. We're talking about money that came from a checking or savings account in which you already paid taxes on that money. So over 10, 15, maybe 20 years, maybe even 30, depending on when you started your IRA, you could have easily have acquired 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000, depending on how long and depending how much your initial principal investment was. So when we think about touching the money, Really, an IRA is designed to be income, isn't it? And so, income, we think about monthly income. So, when you think about your IRA, you're thinking about how much money am I going to need in my household on a monthly basis? And that is how you will pay your taxes. If you decide to take $1,000 a month, or $2,000 a month, or $3,000 a month, then that's when you pay your taxes on those withdrawals, systematic withdrawals. Unless you just want to pay Uncle Sam a lot of money, you can take it all. But remember the tax implications. So an IRA has deferred taxes. Deferred means you put it off. You don't pay it until you're ready to use it. So now that's your IRA. That's your traditional IRA. Now, an IRA is a category. It means that there are different types of IRAs. Still, there's tax considerations. So I just talked to you about a traditional IRA. Now, you can have a traditional IRA that is a result of what we call qualified funds. So, what are qualified funds? That is money that starts with your employer. They take the money out of your check before it's taxed. If you look at your pay stub and you're having money put away, maybe in a 401k or something, or you have it, let's say a 401k, or maybe they have some plans. I know there are some companies that have some type of retirement plans. They don't tax the money. Not a penny of it goes to tax. In fact, when you get your W-2 statement, when you get your W-2, you'll see that little box. There's a box up there that shows pre-tax and after tax. So your IRA contributions or your 401k contributions are pre-tax. Anything that's pre-tax is considered qualified funds. So now you've got qualified funds being on reserve for you. Being on reserve for you when you're ready to retire. Again, the same thing. Of course, compounded interest is always there, always available. But now, in addition to owing tax on your earnings, you also are responsible to pay tax on those pre-tax dollars. So if you've got 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, $1 million sitting in your 401k accounts, that's all pre-tax dollars. And when you're ready to push the button, when you're ready to retire and you need a monthly stream of income, then you pay tax on whatever that is. So if you're taking $5,000 a month, then you're going to owe taxes on the entire $5,000, whether it's from your initial contribution, monthly contribution, or from your earnings, because none of that's been taxed. Now it's tax deferred. So right now you don't owe anything on it because it's tax deferred. So that's why when you think about, you look at those big numbers you have sitting in your accounts right now, your 401k plans or your IRA plans, traditional IRA plans, think about the tax implications and how you want to receive that money on reserve for you when you are ready to retire. So I'm hoping all of this is making sense. So those are called traditional IRAs. Now, why do we kind of underscore traditional IRAs? Because there's something called a Roth IRA. That's right. Everybody's heard of Roth IRAs. In fact, most people say that everybody should have a Roth IRA. And as a licensed financial coach, I say everybody should have a Roth IRA. And why is that? Well, a Roth IRA gives you a tax advantage. And what is that? Money's held in your Roth IRA on reserve after a period of 5 years. You do not owe any taxes on the gains. That's right. Let me repeat that. After a period of 5 years, you do not owe any taxes on the gains. So let's put that in real terms. Let's say you have $100 in your Roth IRA. You started with 100. Well, Yeah, okay, let's say you started with 100 and then now you've got 150 because you've made some gains. Well, you owe taxes on that money. Prior to the 5 years, you owe taxes on the $50. But after the 5 years, you don't owe any taxes on that $50. So a Roth IRA is very, very good to have because of the tax advantages. Now, there are some other things that you need to know about a Roth that we're not going to get into because we don't want to confuse you. There are income limitations and those types of things. That's why you need a financial coach. But the main thing is that 5 years, no taxes. Now, that's a rolling 5 years, meaning as you're contributing, when those funds hit, they've got to sit for 5 years, but you don't owe taxes on your gain. Very, very, very good thing to have. Everybody should have a Roth. And sad to say, I wish I'd had one 30 years ago. I have one now, but no one explained all of that to me, or I would have really been sitting pretty. I'm sitting pretty good right now because I have my traditional IRA and I have my Roth IRA. And you might wonder, well, Sabrina, why do you have both? Well, because there are laws in place with a Roth. You can only contribute $6,000 a year to a Roth. There are some catch up contributions. We're not going to go into that. So you can't have a boatload of money sitting in a Roth. Well, there are some ways that you can do that. We're not going to go into that right now. But for the purpose of this financial literacy conversation, you can start a Roth with a $6,000 contribution. You can start it with more if you're at a certain age. And then each year, the maximum contribution is $6,000. Let's face it, Uncle Sammy's not going to give you that much of a tax advantage. They're going to control all of that, or we'd all get wealthy on Roths, right? As our money grows. But those are the two things that you need to know. So that's why I have both. I have a traditional and I have a Roth. In each case, your money is growing and is sitting on reserve for you so that you have it when you're ready to stop actively earning income. So again, a Roth is not a revolving door. It's not something that you go in, well, an IRA, an IRA, whether it's traditional or Roth, they're not meant for you to go in and out of, in and out of. It's not, no, you should have your checking accounts and your savings accounts for those. And in some cases, there are penalties if you take money out early. Talk to your financial professional about that. Talk to your tax advisor about that. And I have to say that because that's what we say in our industry. I'm a licensed financial coach and I'm really good at what I do, but I'm not a tax advisor. So I always tell everyone, check with your tax accountant, your tax professional. However, I do know the advantages of having those types of products. So welcome to the world of IRAs. And if you don't have an IRA, what is your plan for retirement? What is your plan for future income? I don't think any of us are planning to work in our 80s and 90s. Well, some people do, but let's face it, you're not 100%. Let's just face it. We do age. You might be good, you might know knowledge and everything, but are you at the point in your life in your 80s that you want to give 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours a week to something? So that's why you have these monies on reserve. They're called individual retirement accounts. So we got that on the IRAs. Remember, I said an IRA is a category. Now, there are different types of IRAs. We know we've got traditional. We know we've got Roth. Now, they can be tied into mutual funds and stocks. And we know with mutual funds and stocks, there are waves, right? We know what we mean. What do we mean by waves? Well, there's losses and gains because that's what mutual funds do. You can earn quite a bit of money or you can lose quite a bit of money, but that's tied into mutual funds and stocks. And your IRAs, your traditional IRAs and your Roths can be tied to mutual funds. So you may see those numbers go up, you may see them go down. Now, when you're younger, those losses or gains, they kind of come with the territory. We say you can tolerate that. Now, I'm not an investor, so don't look at me for that. You see your financial coach, your financial advisor, you can talk to me one-on-one. But for the purposes of this class, this training, this is all educational purposes here. So you understand the categories. So getting back to your Roth and your traditional, we can split that in half. You can have a Roth and a traditional in mutual funds that's impacted by the market. And the potential for growth is good. That's why some financial advisors may say, hey, let's put it here. But there's also another type of Roth traditional IRA that you can have, and that's called annuities. Now, who has heard of an annuity? An annuity is an insurance product backed by different laws. So it's an insurance product. And with a fixed indexed annuity, specifically, is what we're talking about, because again, an annuity is a category. So we're going to talk about a fixed indexed annuity for your traditional IRAs and your Roth IRAs. Now, why do I separate those like that? Why do I separate the mutual funds from the insurance product? Well, that's because there are guarantees with this insurance product. The guarantees are that you'll never lose your principal, whether it's a traditional IRA or Roth IRA. So that means you won't see these roller coasters. You won't see these losses. So your initial principal, the initial amount of money that you put into your IRA annuity or IRA Roth and your continuing contributions, you'll never lose any money on those. You'll make some small gains, maybe some medium size. We don't know what those indices do, but you'll never lose any money. So you might be asking yourself, well, why don't I just put all my money in an annuity then? Why would I go with the mutual funds? Well, that depends on your risk tolerance. It depends on your age. It depends on what you're trying to do. When people contribute to a mutual fund, they're looking for growth. They want to grow that money, and they'll take the risks that come along with it. People that put their money into an annuity, they're looking for income. They're looking to establish income, money on reserves, and they don't want that income tampered with. And I always say, the older you get, the safer you want your money to be. So if you're at a certain age later in life, you may not want to take those risks, those peaks and valleys. You may want to know that my money's here. I'm going to keep up with inflation, maybe make some small gains, but I'm not going to lose anything because I'm going to be unplugging from my active income in the next 10 years. So I want to make sure that money's there for me. But if you're 20, at 30, you might say, hey, let it ride, Clyde. Let's go for it. I got the time to make it up. And as you know, it can take time to make up a loss if you don't know that. But those gains can be very, very sweet. So that is the difference in the annuities fixed index. Now, let me say something. And then I'm going to give you an illustration. There's a word called variable. You ever have a variable speed fan? You know what that means? It can go 3 different levels and go high and go low. You can have mid. So that's how much air you get. So that's variable. That means it changes. In a world of annuities, you can get a variable annuity. You can choose to do that. When you are in the mutual funds, it's variable. Variable means, again, up, down, up, down, up, down. Losses, gain, losses, gains. So that's what variable means. There are some variable annuities. You might ask yourself, well, who would want to do that? Well, you might be an aggressive person who just like, hey, roll the dice. You may want that variation. Maybe you want to see if you can gain more. But again, remember your annuity, your fixed index annuity, because we're talking about retirement right now. We're talking about funds on reserve. You may want something solid, something you can hang your hat on. And let's face it, some of us are very, very unsure when it comes to peaks and valleys and losses and gains. And some of us like to play it safe. And some of us like to go all the way. You like to go all in. And that's why we have different levels of how to put your money and where to put your money. Now, we're going to talk about your 401k for a minute. And then I'm going to give you an illustration. If your company is offering a 401k and it's offering an employer match, that's free money. That's free money. So here's an illustration. You're putting 3% in. They're going to match your 3%. Let's say that's $100 a month. They're going to give you $100. Question is, why wouldn't you take that $100? That's free money, I call it. Employer match. I would say there are some 401ks that have fees and all types of things baked in there. So you may want to find out from your employer that offers the 401ks, find out your cost to participate in that 401k. Are there withdrawal fees? There are things you can do with 401ks, but remember, your 401k should be money on reserve for you. I do know people that they've lived out of their 401ks. They've taken money out and they've borrowed money. They've done all kinds of things. And there's all kinds of things you can do with 401ks. That is not today's lesson. Today's lesson is money on reserve for you. That's today's lesson. So we're talking about the 401k because it's on reserve for you and how you should handle that and have something for your future. So I've taken the liberty, and I had a card here because I didn't want to forget what I wrote down. Here's my card. Okay. So now we've got our RAs, we've got our annuities. I'm going to put a little spin on this. I hope you have pencil and paper. If you don't, get some. I'm going to wait a second. Get pencil and paper. I want you to write some numbers down for me. I want you to do this exercise. So on the left-hand side of your paper, I want you to draw a line down the middle of your paper. On the left-hand side of your paper, I want you to write the number 100. On the right-hand side of your paper, write the number 100. So on the left-hand side, you now have $100 in your mutual funds, your IRA mutual funds. You now have $100. On the right-hand side, you've got $100 in your annuity, fixed indexed annuity. Congratulations, you've started your reserve account. Uh-oh. Mutual funds, stock market just went down 50%. So on the left-hand side of your column, put a minus $50. You just lost $50. So now you have $50 in your IRA. Now, this is just educational purposes, okay? So just kind of go with me here. On the right-hand side of the paper, indices might have taken a dip, but you don't lose any money. So put a minus 0 underneath your 100. What do you have left? You have $100 in your fixed indexed annuity, Roth or traditional IRA. So you got $100 in your annuity IRAs, $50 in your mutual fund IRAs. Now, the stock market goes up 50%. Yay, let's clap. Your mutual funds just went up 50%. Now, hold on. Let's do this math correctly. Remember, you've got $50 there. So 50% of $50 is $25. So you now have $75 in your IRA mutual funds. $75 in your IRA mutual funds. Remember, this is educational purposes only. I'm making this kind of simple. I'm not including any gains. At this point, you haven't made any. So now you've got $75, still below what you initially started with. On the right-hand side of your paper, you got $100, right? Not stock market, indexes went up 50%. That's $50. So now you've got $150 in your IRA annuities. You're ahead of the game here. You got 150. Yay, let's clap. Okay. Stock market, let's go back to our mutual funds, just went up 34%. Yay, 34%. So now let's add $25.50 to that. I had to do the math. $25.50. Now you've got $100.50. You're back to where you started. Even though the market went up, you still are back to where you started. Now, on your annuity side, stock market goes up 34%. 34% of $150 is $51. You now have $201 in your annuities. $201. Now let's look at this for a minute. We started with $100. At the end of those losses and gains, you've got $100.50 in your mutual funds, and you've got $201 in your annuities. Quite simple. Now, there's some other things inside of this I didn't take into account. As your mutual funds begin to grow, your earning interest. But this is just a very simple part. You might say, well, why would I want to be in mutual funds? Well, because when you gain big. When you gain in mutual funds, you gain big. When you gain in annuities, it may not be so big. It might be 3%. It might be 5%. It might be 8%. When you gain in the mutual funds, it could be 10%. It could be 8%. It could be 12%. It could also be 5%. But the gains are higher. So that's when you got to figure out what your objective is. So this is the quick and easy lesson on IRAs and mutual funds. And it's a lot to learn. Trust me, I learn. I stay in front of all types of information to explain it to me, but that's a simple way to figure it out. So what are you trying to accomplish again with your IRAs? Money on reserve. At a certain point in your life, you want that money on reserve to be safe. You don't want it impacted by too much because you don't have a lot of catch-up years. When you're younger, you have plenty of time for catch-up. When I had my mutual funds, and by the way, your 401k is mutual funds. Anybody that says, I don't want to be in the stock market, if you have a 401k, you're in the stock market. You're in the stock market. That's why you'll see those minuses on your statement and you'll see those gains on your statement. I've lost thousands of dollars in my 401k when I was in it, and I gained thousands of dollars. I was younger then. But as you get older, you may not have time for that makeup. I do know a guy who was getting ready to retire, and about 3 months before he retired, I think the company went into a recession. His stock market sank. He had to wait another 2 or 3 years. He had to work another 2 or 3 years until his 401k came back up before he could retire. So that's why I say when you're young, you got plenty of time for catch up, plenty of time for gains, plenty of times to let it go, let it ride Clyde. Get to a certain age, your thought processes change. So I'm Sabrina Prodick. I am a financial coach. There's so much more to this picture, but I just gave you the simple breakdown of what IRAs are and the different types of categories. So I'm happy you tuned in. Thank you for joining us today. And we hope that today's innovative nuggets of wisdom have inspired you to take action, inspired you to understand what you're doing for your retirement, for your money on reserves. This is all about you and having something for the future. So for more information on this, reach out to me. If you want to know about joining us as a moderator, we'd love to have you on, board member, or attend our annual Powerful Women Summit in August. Coming up in August, it's just around the corner. Visit our website at women, WOMENOIII.com. That's WomenOIII.com to find out more information about our annual Powerful Women Summit, or becoming a board member, or even doing a Facebook moderation like I'm doing today. And you can reach out to myself, Sabrina Protic, or Crystal Richardson for details. Have a great week and continue to live each day unapologetically with honor, gratitude, and remember, keep rising, because woman, you are powerful. I'll see you next time.